Good morning. It's almost not morning anymore, is it? Have you had a nice week? I had a 2-day marriage wedding. My daughter's very good friend through all of Academy was married this weekend. Not this weekend, this week. And the rehearsal dinner. This was all down in Sonoma. At some very fine places, although there are wineries. And but it was beautiful. 2 days, and best of all was seeing my daughter with that tummy up there in front. It just was beautiful. Anyway, I'd like to tell you that this year, on April 19th, it was 40 years. It's been 40 years since my baptism. And April 19th, 1981. And this title to my sermon, For Those Tears I Died, was a song that was sung at my baptism as the pastor and I were slipping and sliding in the pond out of Morgan Valley. Almost went under before the time came. But anyway, Grace Roby sang that song for me with her husband playing the guitar. And it was beautiful. And I searched and searched, and I hope I get to share it with you, but for something close to it. And maybe we'll hear that in the end. So, tears, crying, pain, sorrow, were they always part of God's plan? Can you imagine before sin came into the world, before rebellion came into heaven, when everything was in one accord, and all the angels, even the third that fell from heaven, were all together singing and praising God. Even Lucifer, who was the son of the morning, the bright morning star. Everything was glorious and happy. And things changed. We're talking earlier about pride. Pride came into Lucifer, and things began to change. And they were cast out into the earth, and Lucifer and a third of the angels, and began to bring havoc upon the earth, upon human mankind, on God's creation. Not just, it's not just we as people that suffer. It's the whole creation is crying out, it's groaning. And I mean, we see it just every day. If you ever go by a place where the fires have burned, glorious trees have burned up, and the lake, sometimes they have a fish diet, thousands of fish floating up on the shore. There wasn't supposed to be death. Little things, little birds that you find in your patio, they hit the window. That wasn't supposed to happen. And I want to go back to the patriarchs and prophets. Let's see what I right here. By the way, today's was my dad's birthday. I just remembered that when I accepted this sermon today. My dad was a great man. I hope I get to see him again. So, crying and tears have been with humanity since the fall. They are part of the curse that resulted from man's disobedience to the law of God. What Adam and Eve experienced as a result of their disobedience. When Adam and Eve listened to Satan's lies, do people listen to Satan's lies today? Satan is still real. A lot of people don't think he's real. They come up with all these other ideas. And even Satan's just this little character that runs around with a pitchfork and a pointed tail. It's more like a comic character. What's that? So, listen to Satan's lies and ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They soon began to see the evil results of their choice. After their sin, Adam and Eve were no longer to dwell in Eden. They earnestly entreated that they may remain in the home of their innocence and joy. They confessed that they had forfeited all right to that happy abode, but pledged themselves for the future to yield strict obedience to God. But they were told that their nature had become depraved, and by sin, they had lessened their strength to resist evil and had opened the way for Satan to gain more ready access to them. In their innocence, they had yielded to temptation, and now in a state of conscious guilt, they would have less power to maintain their integrity. Something we deal with today, isn't it? It's tough. It's tough. And definitely, we hopefully have all learned there's no way we can do it on our own. In fact, we can't even begin to do it. In humility and unutterable sadness, I mean, I can't even imagine what they were going through. They bade farewell to their beautiful home and went forth to dwell upon the earth, where rested the curse of sin. The atmosphere once so mild and uniform in temperature, was now subject to marked changes, and the Lord mercifully provided them with a garment of skins as a protection for the extremes of heat and cold. As they witnessed in drooping flower and falling leaf the first signs of decay, Adam and his companion mourned. Think of this. They mourned more deeply than men now mourn over their dead. The death of the frail, delicate flowers was indeed a cause of sorrow. But when the goodly trees cast off their leaves, the scene brought vividly to mind the stern fact that death is the portion of every living thing. You know, we're living in some pretty grave times. Have any of us suffered sorrow? Do we cry? Do we, have tears? And sometimes I think about it. I mean, throughout history, mankind has suffered with the curse of sin. We have our little sphere of suffering in our own lives. But can you imagine God, who sees all things, knows all things, witnessing, hearing the prayers of the suffering throughout the world? Thousands and thousands of people suffering from different ways, whether by the hand of somebody that's bringing harm upon them. I mean, could you ever imagine somebody taking the life of their children or the life of the loved one? You know, you think about it, they probably brought that child into the world, loving that child, just adoring that child. And things just changed in them to the point where they take lives, the life of their loved ones, the people that they should be comforting and experiencing joy with. So think of the sufferings that take place every day. We read about it. We see it in the news. and closer to home we experience a curse in our own lives and in the lives dear to us, our family and our friends. Some most of you probably know I had COVID a couple months ago. Just breaks my heart to hear my kids cry. And my son was crying for his dad. And here I'm in the hospital. And I called home, or maybe he called me, I forget. But I get my son on the phone. And not only is he suffering because of me, now one of his good friends was in a one-car accident and was killed. And then just a week ago, a young friend of his, 2 years younger than him, dies of diabetes, 26 years old. He's learning what suffering is. Sadly, should have never been this way, but we have a part in working with God to relieve suffering. And all through the Bible, we know that Jesus was about relieving suffering. And turn with me to John 11:25. John 11:25. What do we have in John 11? We have the story of Lazarus, right? John 11:25. A little blue thing here, just let us use up. So, we're not going to read the whole story, but Jesus is told that Lazarus was sick. So with his disciples, and he sort of delays his coming to where Lazarus is sick. And by the time he gets there, Lazarus has died. It's been a few days. And he says to page over. He says to Martha had said, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection and in the last day. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And as he goes to Mary, then when Mary was come where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying unto him, it's their brother. When I was sick, really sick, my sisters called me. It's nice hearing from your family. I'm sick. And they were letting me know they cared about me. And I can just imagine how much Mary and Martha cared for Lazarus, their brother. And she fell down at his feet. It's not just she came to him, she fell down at his feet. You'll read about that a lot in the Bible. People are struggling, people that are going through a lot of issues, they fall down at Jesus' feet. How much do we fall down at Jesus' feet? There's so much going on in our lives, so much going on in the world that we don't pay attention to. How often are we falling down at Jesus' feet for somebody that we care about? And saying unto him, Lord, if thou had been here. My brother had not died. When Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping, which came with her, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled, and said, where have you laid him? They said unto him, Lord, come and see. The shortest text in the Bible, verse of the Bible, 35. Jesus wept. You know, when we are going through struggles, when we are weeping, when tears are coming out of our eyes, God is there and he's weeping with us. He cares for those that we care about. He hears our prayers. Then the Jews, behold how he loved him. And Jesus did love Lazarus. And I'll stop there on that story because I just wanted to share that Jesus also has wept. Now, through the Bible, if you look in the chapter 8 of Luke, you have a number of stories. We have the raising of Jairus' daughter. Who was Jairus? He was a ruler of the synagogue. He was kind of one of those, I don't know. Had this not happened, I'm not sure how he would have been humbled a little bit or not, but he comes to Jesus. And what does he do? Let's go there. Let's go to Luke 8. And behold, there came a man named Jairus. Maybe his name is Jairus. Is that right? Jairus. Anybody know what to spell J-A-I-R? I got a little lesson there this morning. I was looking it up. Named Jairus, and he was a ruler of the synagogue. And he, what did he do? He fell down at Jesus' feet and besought him that he would come into his house. Why? Because his daughter was ill. It was his only daughter. And he was, I mean, when your kids are sick, you want to do everything you can to make them well. And so here he is. He's heard about Jesus. He falls at his feet. He's the ruler in the synagogue. He falls at Jesus' feet. But Jesus, you know, some of the things he said about the people in the synagogue. Remember? Called them vipers and things. He doesn't call. He doesn't say, do it. He has compassion. Doesn't matter who you are. If you fall at Jesus' feet, Jesus hears us. He sees our need. And he had one daughter. She lay dying. And so what happens? Jesus is being pressed by this throng of people around him, other sick people. And in that throng, there's a woman. She happens to be a woman that has had an issue of blood. Maybe some of you understand what that means. She's had it for a long time. She's been to doctors. She's spent all her money. She has nothing, no hope. And she's in the crowd. She's trying to get close to Jesus. And she just thinks in her mind, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I'll be healed. And she reaches out and touches the hem of his garment. And immediately she's healed. And Jesus, he turns and says, who touched me? He's got this crowd pressing upon him. You see, a lot of people are pressing upon Christ, but they don't have the faith. You know, it's kind of like they're there just for the bread and the cookies, or yeah, they just want to see the experience. It's like a show. It's like like an entertainment. But she was there for for healing, and she was there believing. It was her only hope. And she, I like what it says here. He apparently, there's no hiding from Jesus, right? And the woman having an issue of blood 12 years, which is spell or living upon physicians, neither could be healed of any, came behind him and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her issue of blood staunched. And Jesus said, "Who touched me?" When all denied, Peter and they that were with him said, "Master, the multitude throng thee, and press against thee, and sayest thou, Who touched me?" And Jesus said, "Somebody had touched me. For I perceive that virtue has gone out of me." That's a study in itself. You've got to understand what that means. Virtue has gone out. And when the woman saw that there was no hiding, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared unto him before all the people that for what cause she had touched him, and now she was healed immediately. So Jesus goes on to the home of Jairus' daughter, his home, where his daughter is. And there are a lot of people there. And actually, let's back up just before he even gets there. A messenger comes. What's happened? She's already died. She's now laying there in this room with no life. And they said, the messenger says, "Don't trouble the master." That's the hard thing for the master. He likes to be troubled. God likes to be troubled. I'm sure when he heard that, he said, "No way. I'm going on. This is going to be to God's glory." This man loves his daughter. So when he came into the house, he suffered no man. Okay, I come here. And when Jesus heard it, he answered him, saying, heard the messenger, "Fear not, believe only, and she shall be made whole." And when he came unto the house, he suffered no man to go in, save Peter and James and John, and the father and the mother of the maiden. And all wept. Or weeping. All wept. And Jesus says, but he said, "Weep not. She is not dead, but sleepeth." Like it said about Lazarus. And they laughed him to scorn, knowing that she was dead. And he put them all out of the room and took her by the hand. And he said, "Maid, arise." Her spirit came again, and she rose straightway. And he commanded to give her meat. People were astonished. There's two demons, demoniacs. And Jesus comes to this island of Gennesaret. I think it's called Gennesaret. Is that what it's called? What happens there? What do these demons do? And they arrived at the country of the Gadarenes, which is over against Galilee. And when he went forth to land, there met him out of the city a certain man which had devils. Okay, got one. Devils, long time, and wear no clothes, absolutely abode in the house. Neither abode in any house, but in the tombs. It's a sad situation. You know what? It's no sadder than the situation we have in Clearlake. I mean, I know probably it's better to be home and go to bed, but sometimes I'm out there, but I shouldn't be out there, I guess. I meet people on the streets, and there's some rough people struggling, mentally disabled, mentally struggling. They go by my office, just going on, talking to probably the devil. You know, it's just sad. What are we doing? It's easy to say, oh, look at that, look at that, it's all messed up. But when are we going to reach out and touch those people? You know? So, what happens with this man? This demoniac. Jesus gets off the boat. This man approaches him. It says, when he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell. There he is, falling down before him. He's possessed, but still he falls down. There's something in that man that knows this Jesus can help him. There's people in this town that are just looking for someone to reach out and help them.
I reject these and so shit.
So, fall down and with a loud voice said, what have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God Most High? I beseech thee, torment me not. Jesus asked what his name was, and his name was Legion, for there were many. It wasn't just one devil. You know, sometimes what possessed many demons. Mary Magdalene, I think she had 7. So, you know, I'm not sure where your life is or what you've been doing in your life, but, you know, it's very possible to have a devil in your life that's working in your life to push you and push Christ out of your life. So, he said his name was Legion, and they besought him that he would not command them to go out. Well, they didn't want to go out into the deep, but Jesus cast them out into a herd of swine, and the swine went running down into the river. And what do we see later? Here, this man that falls, this demoniac, falls at Jesus' feet. This man is suffering. And he falls at Jesus' feet. Jesus casts out these demons, many, because their name is Legion, there's many of them. And what do we find? Where do we find him next? It says, now the man to whom the devils were departed besought him that he might, I'm going to back up. Okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. And they went out to see what was done. People heard about this. They heard about the swine running into the river, or into the sea. And came to Jesus and found the man out of whom the devils were departed, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. Gosh, you think they would be rejoicing? They were afraid. It's all about the pigs. And so Jesus, he wanted to go with Jesus, but Jesus sent him back into his country, back into his town, and he told the story, and many people believed. One more story. Story of Peter. There was a story in that same chapter about the storm that came up on the sea. And Jesus rebuked them. When the disciples came to him, they were fearful and scared. You know, have you ever been fearful and afraid? And they called out to Jesus. And I mean, here's this massive storm rocking the boat's sinking. But Jesus cries out. What does he say? Peace, be still. Immediately, it's gone. Have you ever tried that? You got to try that. Put a little faith in it. Believe it. So we're moving on to Matthew 26. Matthew 26, story about Peter. What happens to Peter? What does Peter do when Jesus is on the cross? Or before he even goes to the cross, during his suffering, during his trial. How many times did the cock crow? Thrice. And 26. He denies him. And let's see here. Long chapter. All the way back to 75, couple of pages. It says, and Peter remembered the word of Jesus, which said unto him, before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. And what did he do? He denied him 3 times. And he went out and he wept bitterly. What was he weeping about? Let down. Good friend, for one thing. Someone you believe was the Son of God. Confessed that he was the Son of God. So he denied him 3 times. I'm going there, but what happens later, what after the resurrection? Jesus is on the seashore, they're out fishing. And Jesus says, cast your net on the other side. They're bringing a big bunch of fish. And then Peter realizes it's Jesus on shore. And what does he do? He throws off his coat and dives into the water and swims to shore to see Jesus. He's got a date with God. He's got to make things right. There's a time when we got to make things right with God. We have become calloused. We don't speak when we should speak. We don't hear when we should hear. When I was in the hospital, there was some moments when I couldn't hear. It's not a comfortable feeling. When all of a sudden your hearing's going out and you can't really hear it, it's just kind of a muffled sound. And they said that's part of the COVID. And boy, it was so great when all of a sudden it just came back. I mean, what did I do? I had to do things. I had to try to blow through my ears, and I put hot wash rags on my ears, and nothing seemed to be working. Prayed a lot. And anyway, a lot of times just took a little bit of relaxing and just allowing myself to relax a little bit and come back. But I struggled with it, and I'd have to do something. I don't like not hearing. But you know what? There's so many times, even when my ears are working, that I'm not hearing. We get so calloused by the news and the things that are around us. We don't see what God sees. And open my eyes, Lord. We need to have our eyes open. Open my ears. Boy, I'm glad that there's a song about that, letting me have the eyes and the ears of Jesus or something like that. But can you imagine I don't think we can handle it all. I mean, God sees it all. We can hardly handle what we see. We should have been praying. A lady left her 3-year-old child, I'm not sure his daughter, in the car this week. She was tending to her marijuana crop. 100+ degrees in my car. A little child died. I'm sure she didn't mean to kill her, but she died. She's going to live with that. What a horrible thing to have to live with. And this is on and on. People are, just going through these situations. And you know what? those people need us. I mean, it's like somebody should search that lady out and go and spend some time with her. So Jesus is gracious. He forgives Peter. He says, feed my sheep. He said he wants to know 3 times, yes, do you love me? Think of it. Jesus asking me, do you love me? Feed my sheep. Go take care of my sheep. What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to love our what? Our friends, right? Love our enemies. And how are we supposed to love them? We're supposed to love them as ourselves. We're supposed to treat them like we would want to be treated. If you were sick, would you want somebody to come to you? So, we need to shorten this up. But let's turn to 1 Corinthians 13. 1 Corinthians 13. What do we know about 1 Corinthians 13 without even going there? Yes? A love chapter, right? Love is a wonderful thing, isn't it? My wife and I have been married 41 years this coming week. And I still love that woman. More probably than I loved her when I married her. And I remember I got married in a Catholic church. Had a really good time with that old priest, trying to get to understand him, and him trying to get to understand me through my wife interpreting. And he was a nice man. He'd been shot in the mouth during the war. He was an old guy. Died a year after we got married. And given a great controversy and a desire of ages. And the last time I went to church with your family, he was talking to the people about reading their Bibles. And that they should read their Bibles more and ask more questions. Because we got to talking, and I asked them about things that they believe that I didn't believe. Because he said, well, if you're, I forgot how he said that, but he tried to say I was Catholic. Because I guess, I forget the whole thing, but I told him, well, I don't believe in child baptism. I don't believe in that we go to purgatory, all these things. Give me all these verses. And said, here, you can look these up and I'll explain this to you. And I looked them all up. I wrote them all down. I looked them all up. It was like he picked them out of the blue. I don't know. Nothing even matched what we were talking about. But I had a feeling he went home and really looked it up. And I was telling the congregation to read their Bibles more. My wife was right next to me. She was bumping my arm. So we are going to 1 Corinthians 13, right? But I speak with the tongue of men and of angels and have not, I'm going to say love, charity, love. When you show love, when you show charity, you're most likely showing love, hopefully. I am become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains and have not charity or love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not love, it profiteth me nothing. Charity suffereth. This is the part I want to bring home. It suffereth long. Marriages today don't suffer long. It doesn't take much for a couple that were married and loving each other and having kids together in their love, and then boom, a little suffering of it, it's over. Charity suffereth long, love suffereth long, and is kind. Love envieth not. Love vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own. That's a tough one, huh? Kind of like to have experienced coming home with my wife late one night. I wanted to drive by a couple of listings. She was really tired. I just want to go home. I just want to go to bed. So I did this part of my work. I really need to go by these places. People have been breaking into them. I did what I wanted to do. And I had a little paper, it's at home, about what I should be preaching about this week. Anyway, my wife is pretty amazing at getting me back on the right track. So, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity or love never faileth. But where there are prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there are tongues, they shall cease. Whether there is to be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. And going down to the end, it says, now abideth faith, hope, and love, these three. But the greatest of these is love. So, in finishing, we have a song. I just want to encourage you as you listen to this song, to think about maybe, when I was in the hospital, thinking I might die. Could have died. I kind of rededicated my life to that. I had a little rebirth there. It was just God and me there on the bed, And many times during that stay, I was delirious, and I kept just bringing myself back to God, and trying to, just ask Him to help me stay there with Him. I get pulled off and all these things. Anyway, so I want you to think about that as we listen to the songs. Or the song. Do we have the song, Patrick? Is Patrick there? Start stuff.
Yeah.
I
praise you from earth's humble shores. Take me, I am yours. And Jesus said, come to the water, stand by my side. I know you are thirsty, you won't be denied. I felt every teardrop when in darkness you cried, and I strove to remind you that for those tears I
In closing, I'd like to turn to the book of Revelation, chapter 21. Similar to Isaiah, but I'd like to hear it again. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride. It's us. We are the bride, adored for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he shall dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And God himself shall be with them and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death. Excuse me. Neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful. The day is coming. It's not going to be far away. I don't know, for some people, maybe even today. Just let's reach out, do what we can, make sure people get there. Let's pray. Loving Father, thank you for life. Thank you for breath. These hearts that beat within our chests. These minds that are amazingly, fearfully made. Wonderful. We are like dust. And without you, our righteousness is like a filthy rag. But Lord, we don't want to be like this. And we know the only answer is in you. Today we just invite you in to come in to these temples that you have made and sup with us and live in us and make us a glory to you. May there be nothing said that can be said against us. May we be blameless. May we be strive to be among that number that will sing that new song. And no one else can sing, because we've been saved by your grace. This is our prayer. Send us forth now as shepherds. Also, feed your sheep. We pray in Jesus' name.